Today's podcast episode is sponsored by Let's Go. Let's Go is a 501c3 nonprofit organization committed to generating opportunities for youth and young adults through STEM education and workforce development.
Welcome, everybody, to the Let's Grow Together podcast presented by Let's Go. I'm Hannah Ross, joined as always by my fantastic co host.
Ray McKetty.
And today we are joined by a Let's Go alum, longtime Let's Go supporter and student, and so many other things, Quanye Johnson. Welcome, welcome.
Woo-hoo, Quanye.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We are thrilled to have you on the podcast today. Do you want to give just a quick little introduction for everybody before we jump into questions?
Got you. Well, my name is Quanye Johnson. I'm originally born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. And right now I'm currently pursuing a career in education.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, Quanye, we're really happy to have you on the pod, my man. I met you during the Let's Go gala. Almost called it the Met Gala, and I was like, no, different tax bracket. But yeah, and we had a really great conversation then, and it was just cool to hear about some of the work that you are doing and have been pursuing since being in Let's Go, and then like your trajectory following being a part of the organization. And it's just been I like I said, I heard about you before I met you. So your reputation definitely precedes you. So we're excited to have you on the pod and to just ask a couple questions of you, so that maybe you can, illuminate what a path looks like for someone who's been a part of Let's Go programming, who, like where it can go, right? So with that being said, our first question for you is, can you share a bit about your pathway up to this point?
Of course. Well, originally I started off as a Let's Go student. I think my first meeting was in the fourth grade. I went with my two older brothers because they were old enough to join at the time, and I was not at the school site they were at Westport Academy. So I went to a couple of meetings with them, waiting for them to take me home. I started to get interested in some of the projects that they were doing, whether it was MSO or Let's Go Robotics. And then from then on, when I got old enough to join the team, I jumped to the first opportunity. I joined the team with a few of my friends, and we just went there after school, learning about different things, learning about core values, team leadership, and things like that. So it just kind of stuck with me throughout all the years of middle school. And then when I went to high school, I was granted the opportunity to come back to my middle school and teach the robotics team. And of course, I loved it because it was stuff that I've been doing since I was in middle school. I felt like I knew a lot, and it would be good to kind of pour into the youth while still being in high school. And then some years went on. Then unfortunately we had the pandemic, and then we had to go virtual. But we were still steadfast. We gave the students all we can, and we had a really good season. And one of my biggest takeaways from that was actually when I had the opportunity to take some of my kids to states, that was pretty big. Being a MSO first robotics kid, not having the opportunity to compete, but being able to coach kids to be able to compete states was really big. So I'm glad I could give them that opportunity, and the whole process kind of meant a lot to me.
Beautiful, man. Yeah, yeah. And so we're following up on that. I mean, Bex, MSO, yeah, that's a lot of Let's Go bread and butter. And it's amazing to hear about the core values that you're able to move in and groove in and embody. And so like, what are you say you're studying to be an educator now, or you're studying education now?
Yes, I'm currently in an educational pathway. So
Mhm.
recently I've completed my paraprofessional exam. So I'm licensed to be a paraprofessional in the city of Baltimore. So I got a letter of, so what I'm looking for. I got a offer letter from my school site at Henderson Hopkins saying that they would like to bring me on as a paraprofessional next year. So that's pretty big for me to have my first full-time position while also in school at BCCC, going to my last semester this fall and graduating and planning to go to Coppin. It's been pretty big, very eventful. So I've been kind of in the spaces of just, getting mentally prepared and, just trying to gain a certain level of responsibility for where I'm at in life.
Congratulations, brother. That's amazing.
That is so exciting. And congratulations on your first full-time position, on almost being done with BCCC, and so exciting that you're planning on going on to Coppin. Just exciting all around. In the 4 years that I have known you, I know that you've had different thoughts about where your career might go, starting out maybe a little bit more STEM. And then when you started at BCCC, kind of gaining all of those new experiences, trying all these different things. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what that was like, figuring out your direction, and maybe give some advice to other young people who are still in that process of figuring out where do they go, how do they find what they want to do?
Well, I'll first say it's kind of a mental battle with yourself. Yeah, there's a lot of thinking, a lot of things to go in consideration. I feel like you should do what you're passionate about, and then everything else will follow. I think it takes a certain level of bravery to kind of step out of your comfort zone and kind of tap into something different and try to find a path for yourself. I think that if I had to give advice to somebody who was young, didn't really know what they wanted to do, I would say try it all. Try it all, gain some experiences, find a mentor, find somebody in that field who inspires you, study them, study the field, and just kind of gain a desire to want to do better, grow, and to learn. And I feel like everything else will fall into place. But always keep your passion first.
Mm.
That's
That
good
kind of,
advice.
yeah, that kind of really almost pretty much answers the other question that we had, which was like, how do you kind of cultivate that initiative to apply for fellowships or programs and trying stuff that you're not sure will work? Like, uh, how, I mean, what does that process look like for you when you're just like, I'm kind of taking a shot in the dark here, and then, next thing you know, you got a bullseye. So, uh, what would you just say, like kind of more of the same of what you already said, or is there something more, that you found that works for you, when it comes to reaching for opportunities, or step? I guess it's like this idea of like, how can, you're trailblazing, you're making, you're not sure what the path looks like because you're actively making it, as you take each step. So, anything you can say to that?
Um, so to kind of go back to my first response, it's a lot of mental. It's a lot of thought that goes into it. I don't really make too many moves without being sure. I think a lot, and also I have a lot of mentors. I have a wide network, so I ask a lot of questions. I feel like just having somebody in your corner to lean on, or just like developing that network for you to kind of ask questions, because there might be somebody in another field that had similar experiences that could prepare you for that. And it's not always 100%, it's not always a guarantee, but you don't lose your trying. So I just try. I take almost every opportunity that's given to me because I don't want to miss out. And yeah, I feel like I feel like not necessarily I can do it all, but I have the power to. So I try to apply myself. I try different things. I ask questions and I just put my best foot forward because I never know what I might do, who I might meet, or where I might go. And I think that it's taken me a lot of different places. So that's it.
You're kind of leading us right into another question. So I'm going to jump ahead a couple questions because you are really good at networking and connecting with people, asking those questions. How did you get comfortable doing that? I know a lot of people, old, young, seasoned in a field, brand new to a field, are very uncomfortable with networking, get a little scared maybe about finding mentors or just like talking to people out of nowhere. But that's something that you seem really good at. And on the surface, it seems like you're very comfortable doing it. So, can you talk a little bit about how did you get to this point of being so comfortable and so confident in it?
Well, this answer might sound a little political, but I'll have to give the credit to Let's Go. When I gave me the opportunity to speak at the golf tournament, that kind of like opened my mind to like public speaking, and I kind of had to have that one-on-one with myself, saying that okay, now that I'm in this space, that means I can only go higher than this. So I have to leave stage right behind. I have to get a little more confident, like I have to shake people's hand, look at them in their eye. I have to ask certain questions. I just have to be comfortable at where I'm at. I can't have imposter syndrome. which I feel like a lot of people have. I feel like a lot of people forget all of their tokens and trophies that they won to the point where they think that they're beneath where they can go or where they're at right now. So I just kind of remove myself from that. I talk to everybody as equals, treat everybody with respect, and I respect the space. So I think that that kind of plays a big part in my networking, and I make a lot of good relationships. I stay in contact a lot, and I have no problem reaching out because I feel like if you're in my network, you're a resource, and I am too. So I treat it with that level of respect.
I love that mentality. I
Mhm.
love what you talked about, especially about, treating everyone as equals, coming in as equals, but also that you are a resource for other people. Because I think you're so right. People get caught up in the imposter syndrome, and it's easy to feel like everyone else has it together. And I love that you are bringing the mentality of other people have something to offer, but so do you. And that is just so amazing. Like, I cannot tell you how incredible that is to hear.
I like the idea of thinking of imposter syndrome as the true imposter. It's like, what? You don't belong here, right? I am a person of value and consequence, and I can provide value to those that are in my network and to those who might be looking up to me and um, looking to me for guidance or mentorship. And so, with that being said, I'd actually would like to ask you about your mentoring program. If you could, maybe expound upon that a little bit. What does that look like? Could you tell us a little bit about it?
So last year, me and my colleague, his name's Stanley West, we decided to start a mentor group in our school site for a program that we were working for with a nonprofit organization called the Literacy Lab. So during our free time, we made a mentoring group called Mentoring Fortunes, where we basically mentor students from fourth all the way up to eighth grade. And we just kind of sat with them during their lunchtime, talked to them, gave them advice. We listened a lot. I feel like a lot of our mentorship was listening, and then we try to introduce games like chess, in our free time after we had our conversation to kind of like meet back and tell us what you learned on the board. How can you reference this to life? What are some things that you have questions about? And it kind of went on from there. We were actually blessed and granted the opportunity to host an event at our school site and have Senator McCray come in to kind of speak to our kids. And just having a powerful figure like that who's engaged in the community come speak to our kids was pretty big. And till this day, I'm very thankful that he decided to take the time. I know that he's a very busy person, but I know that he's really into the community, and that's what really spoke out to me.
That's fantastic. And being able to bring in people who have that passion for the community is amazing. And I love that you're reaching big. You're trying to find people who have a passion, but you're not afraid to ask important people, big people. I love that. You
On
mentioned
that note, so I
oh,
don't mean
please, no.
unfortunately, I have to interject. Uh, as much as I would like to take credit, I would have to give that to my colleague Stanley West. He really reached out and developed that relationship with him to where he decided to donate his time to our organization. So I have to tip
Fantastic.
my hat off to him. But he's also in my network and somebody who I learn and work closely with.
We're better together, right? We're always better when we work together. So that's fantastic. What I was gonna say is you mentioned chess as part of what you did last summer, and I'm wondering if that has any connection to the project that you're working on this summer, and if you could tell us a little bit more about that and how that came about.
Yes, of course. So later last school year, I drafted up a 6-week proposal to present to my school for summer enrichment. After weeks of further examination, they approved my proposal, and so now I am the head of a chess club at my school that is ran from 12:30 to 3, where I teach two groups of students at a time how to play chess, and this has been going great. I think right now we're in week 3, and we had some progress. Last week, we actually had our first checkmate in my entire class. So
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty big. I wish I took a picture of the board. I didn't, unfortunately, but
Hey,
when I
we
heard it and I
believe you,
came
brother.
onto the board, it was just I just lit up. And I like the opportunity. I have a really positive attitude when I come in each day. I try to start the day off as my best self. I take the time that I need before I get started. I always prep my lesson plan, even though it's just chess and it's a game. I put my best foot forward, and I'm really trying to teach these kids how to become chess players and how to use their mind. I had a conversation with a couple of my students yesterday because the middle schoolers, they get introduced to the game. They thought that chess was kind of boring, right? So we played a little bit, and I taught them a few gambits and a few openings, and they said like, "Wow, I used to have to use my brain a lot." And some people might take that as a complaint. I took that as an analyzation, like they realize the brain power and thought and consideration that goes into this game, and if they don't, and they might not appreciate it now, but in the future they'll appreciate that kind of mentality when thinking about your next move. So
Mm.
that was a pretty big moment and a good takeaway.
Somebody that I really respect and admire once said that how you handle the small things is how you'll handle the big things. And I think you're teaching these kids how to handle the big things through, something that seems as, innocuous as chess, right? You are still giving them that, hey, when you're making moves, making plans out in the world, moving and grooving, you can like the way that you're talking about, I prep my lesson plans. I make sure that I'm in the right headspace. I do this, I do that. It's like you're setting up your move so you make a good play for the day. I see that, like, you just to affirm you, you're doing really good work in that direction. So
Thank you. Thank you. Oh,
mhm.
and one more thing. So since I have two groups of students, they rotate throughout the week. So this week I had sixth grade and I had fifth grade. And like I told you before that I had a mentorship program. So two of my students actually, that was my mentorship program were in my class this week. So it's kind of made it a little more easier having kids who already been introduced to chess come to my program, kind of learn and kind of take the opportunity to kind of lead in the classroom. That was really big for me. I try to keep my composure and treat everybody in the class equally. But of course, it's always great to see you guys.
Hmm. I'm sure they're excited
Creating
to
a
see you too.
pipeline.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, maybe.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, and on that note, so you know, you started in STEM programming, but clearly you're just blossoming. You're going in all these different directions. So, uh, you're not on what might be considered a traditional STEM route. So, what we would like to know is how did your STEM experiences with Let's Go help you get to where you are now, even if you didn't end up going down the traditional STEM job route, or like that wasn't ultimately where you ended up going. How do you find those transferable skills helped you out?
Um, well, when I think about my career, of course, like the financial aspect is also a big part, but also like your mentality, your attitude. So I will kind of bring it back to when I was in high school. I had a teacher named Mr. Gold. So Mr. Gold, he was into STEM and robotics and things like that, but he became an English teacher. So when I was sitting in the classroom with another Let's Go student named Devonte, we're sitting in the classroom, we were talking about robotics because we had a meeting with the Bolts that afternoon. And Mr. Gold heard our conversation and he was talking he said that he was a coach for robotics. And I said, really? He said, yeah, I did Vex and Let's Go, and I also did Science Olympiad. And I said, really? He said, yes. He was really into STEM. He had a bright STEM future lined up for him and everything. But he decided to be an English teacher. He was very happy, like happy go lucky. One of the most happiest high school teachers you can meet, right? So like when I thought about it like that, I thought that nothing's ever set in stone. So I kind of kept an open mind. And as I got further along my career, I graduated high school and things like that. I got into college. I took up general education because I want to keep my options open. I wanted to know what exactly I wanted to do before I made any concrete plans because I do a lot of thinking, I do a lot of analyzing. So I went into general studies and I got an opportunity to work part-time as a literacy tutor. Now I already had experience working with children because of Let's Go. And I like mentoring and I like teaching and I like education because of Let's Go. Because y'all put me in that classroom setting where I was able to teach, I was able to mentor, I was able to be a positive role model. So I of course jumped to that opportunity. And as I started, matriculating throughout the Baltimore City school system, started meeting a lot of good professionals, principals, admins, and things like that. I started to see the bright side of education and how much of an impact I could really make if I further along my career. And that was what kind of kept me in the educational field.
Awesome, man. Yeah, yeah.
Really.
That's a great
And
story.
I love also that you're connecting all the pieces, that STEM doesn't have to be exclusive of education or of English or of anything else, that they can always work together. I love that you said things are not set in stone. I think that's one of the things that we can get the most caught up on, especially early in our careers. We're still going through our education. It feels like every decision is the last decision, and that
Mhm.
there's not always, a way out if you decide that you don't like it or something. And so I love that you're talking about all of these different conversations, experiences that you've had. It just really goes to show that, taking everything in and learning from every experience can really take you far. So that's awesome to be hearing.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to poke at you about is a favorite let's go memory. It could be something with people, it could be something that you did. You've mentioned already in mentoring and working with people that it's so much about the relationships and the things that you do as much as, the activities. I know certainly one of my favorite Quanye memories is the fact that we always chat football every time that we talk. And so, what would be a let's go memory for you that kind of stands out as something important?
Hmm. Hmm. Man, it's kind of hard to pick.
You've only got like a decade plus of
Yeah,
memories to pick
it's like
from, so
really
I'm not
hard.
putting you on the spot too much.
I will have to say I would just say my last memory because I can't put my old memories out. There's a lot of good ones. The last memory was when we were at the gala, just seeing everybody from behind the scenes, the people on the front lines of the organization. It just kind of made me feel like the program's in the good hands and it's gonna be around for hundreds of thousands of years, God willing. And that just made me feel good that other kids will get that experience and the program is growing. Like it made me feel positive about my place in the program and that there will always be a program. So just that in mind, I have no doubt that Let's Go will be around forever. And I'm happy to have that clarification.
We all appreciate that. That makes us feel good. But also, it has been so fun to watch you grow. I know I've only gotten to see it over the last 4 years, and you have, like Ray said, just absolutely blossomed into this incredible young professional that I always heard stories from everyone else. Everyone else had the confidence. And then as I got to know you more, it was so clear that you are always going to be successful at whatever you do. You have an incredible future ahead of you. And we are so happy to be a part of both your past and also your future. Because, like you said, your network doesn't go away, your mentors don't go away. And we're so happy that you have stayed with us for all this time. So we've gotten to grow with you. That's a really exciting part about working with young people. And you
Let's
are a
grow
stellar
together.
example of it.
hmm Let's grow together. It's the name
Let's
of the
grow together.
podcast. Let's do it. Yeah. Uh,
All
But
right.
I appreciate you
Anything
guys for having me.
else you guys want to add before we wrap this podcast up? I feel like we covered a lot of topics today.
Uh, nothing off the top of my head. Oh, I'm not the only person who went into STEM and decided to be an educator. One of your colleagues, actually. Yeah, I'd like to give a big shout out to Sam Mamayas. He went to education and now he's a biology teacher at City Springs. So yeah.
You guys still play basketball?
Oh yeah, of course, I'm beating him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even
He
close.
always said he was better. I never believed
You
it.
did? Oh man. Oh no, I gotta call
Settling on the court. Bring the
him.
rock, you know.
We always do. We always do. We always do. But he's also one of my mentors. I've learned a lot from him.
Mm,
Um, about being inside the classroom, outside the classroom, things like that. Really great person to talk to. So he's definitely one of my mentors as well.
beautiful, man. Seriously, Quanye, it's been such a pleasure and an honor to do this interview with you, have this conversation with you, and to get to know you a little bit more as someone who's newer to the organization. And yeah, man, we're excited to get this episode out into the world so that one day when, your name's up on a billboard somewhere, they'll be like, oh, wait, you know what? He did an interview and So
Yeah,
excited.
yeah, I definitely got the first interview. The first interview on the first podcast.
There you go. We're always going to be able to
Yeah,
say we knew Kanye when.
yeah. All right.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Kanye. It was a pleasure to have you as always. We will look forward to many more incredible things from you. And for everybody listening, stick around and a new episode will be out soon.
All right.
Thanks for listening to Let's Grow Together.
Bye, y'all.